Good evening, my friends. It's me, Violetta. My son Leszek will be asking me questions. As answers, I will see pictures sent to me from above, and looks like he has a full page of things.
Yeah. Well, this is going to get complicated today, but I think I uncovered some really interesting stuff. Okay, so back in the 80s and 90s, when Trump took more tax losses than any breathing American in the entire U.S., over $1 billion in losses.
I wish I could have those money that he lost.
Well, he wrote a book called The Art of the Deal.
And you read that book?
I read that book about 15 years ago. Yeah, and oddly enough, one of the things that stuck in my memory was his praise for his personal representative, Barbara Rez. Mm-hmm. Now, fast forward to yesterday, where Barbara was on the beat with Ari Melber, and Ari asked her a very important question.
How does he get so many people who you and I both know would have been the first to talk smack about Donald Trump before he were president?
Number one, maybe he has something on them. And number two, maybe he's taking care of them in some way or another with a promise of this or a promise of that.
Now, I think Barbara is both right and wrong in her response. I think she's right in how the Republican Party is being controlled through blackmail and bribery. But I think she's wrong in who's controlling them. And here's why. A few shows ago, when I asked you if William Barr was serving justice or serving Trump, and you said he was serving the top Republicans.
The trunk up, with the elephant trunks up.
Yes. And what came to my mind was the Freedom Caucus, because I gotta admit, I did not know what the Freedom Caucus was at that time. And to be honest, after researching them today, I still have no clue what they are about, apart from them being considered the furthest right-wing grouping within the House Republican Conference. So they're a group of people within the Republican Party that are the farthest right. And that's how they like to be represented as of their Wikipedia page. Here's where it gets interesting, though. They were magically formed at a Republican retreat in Hershey, Pennsylvania, exactly 1 year before Trump took office. They're brand new. They're 1 year before Trump took office. That's when they were formed. Exactly 1 year. My question is, were there any Russian representatives in Hershey, Pennsylvania on the day the Freedom Caucus was formed?
It's not only Russians. It's China as well. Russian and China.
I got shivers. What did you see?
Russian and China.
What did you see?
I see the moon related to me to Chinese symbol.
Yeah.
Red and those lines. And Russia, the Russian eagle. So they both are holding them on the leash.
I'm so glad. Well, I'm not glad you said that, but
that you want
for the
me
purpose
to be
of this video,
on the
yeah, it would go nowhere fast if you said it wasn't. Now, Maria Butina, Putin's favorite spy, is directly associated to former Senator Rick Santorum of Pennsylvania. Rick Santorum was also a Republican candidate for the 2016 presidential election, but ended his campaign to inevitably endorse Trump. My question is, did Rick Santorum have anything to do with organizing the Republican retreat in his home state of Pennsylvania, where the Freedom Caucus was formed? Did he help organize it?
A lot of footprints. It's like a dog prints everywhere. So the hunters will be hunting after animal by tracing the footprints in the snow. So if you will be tracing, you might trace to him.
Okay.
That's the picture.
This is getting good. Rick Santorum was also one of President Trump's top picks for chief of staff. Did you know that? Yeah. which is one of the highest and closest positions to the president. Rick turned it down, citing his family situation doesn't allow him to do that, which is weird, coming from a guy who is running to be the president of the United States.
I'd be honored to do it at some point in time, maybe, but at this point, it just doesn't fit for me and my family, and so I guess the answer right now would be no.
Why did Rick Santorum turn down the chance to be Trump's chief of staff?
It's like Death is working with that Psy. He was afraid of paying some casualties.
You saw the Grim Reaper?
Grim Reaper, yeah. So he is afraid of being casualties.
Okay.
So he feels that it will bring him more damage than good.
That's what I was thinking too. It's also interesting to note that the founding member, the guy who created the Freedom Caucus, can you guess who that is? Mick Mulvaney. The guy who is responsible for creating the Freedom Caucus was also given a great role in the Trump White House as the man who replaced John Kelly as chief of staff.
The one with the glasses. So what is your question?
Well, like the Freedom Caucus is the closest thing to Trump since spray tan. Like that's what I'm getting at. On one of the first great acts of the Freedom Caucus came only 8 months after they were established.
What is acts?
What?
Great
Acts.
Acts. Acts. Okay, acts.
When they demanded the resignation of John Boehner.
Who was that?
Boehner, who was the Republican Speaker of the House. Back, before Trump came into power, nobody knew who or what was going on and who the Speaker of the House even was. He was the Republican
because I only
Speaker
remember the
Paul Ryan.
Paul Ryan, yeah.
Well, guess what happened? They demanded the resignation of this guy. 8 months after they formed, they had the power already to take this guy out. In an interview by Vanity Fair, John Boehner was asked what the Freedom Caucus was about. He had this to say: "They can't tell you what they're for. They can tell you everything they're against. They're anarchists. They want total chaos. Tear it all down and start over. That's where their mindset is." That's all he had to say about them after they took him out. He doesn't even know what they're about. And they were able to take his party from underneath him. He was the strongest guy as the Speaker of the House, and they took him out. And he doesn't even know what the hell. My question is, how after only 8 months did the Freedom Caucus grow so strong to overthrow the Republican Speaker of the House?
They had the puppet master of so many.
They are the puppet master. You've never said that. You've never said who the puppet masters are.
It's like they are pulling all the strings from some huge, it's round, half round thing, and they are pulling all the strings. Oh, boy, you shouldn't start that.
All right.
Oh, gosh, you're
yeah. There's more. Here's another interesting thing. Everyone knows Paul Ryan was elected to replace John Boehner as Republican Speaker of the House. Everybody knows that because Paul Ryan was very controversial right away.
At the beginning, he didn't like Trump at all. He said that he's not going to support his values.
Well, everyone knows that, but what's not very well known and what is found on their Wikipedia page, something that they are very proud of, is one of the things that Paul Ryan said. 1 month after Bauchner was pushed out, Paul Ryan publicly announced that his bid for the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives was contingent on the official endorsement by the Freedom Caucus. It was contingent. It relied on the endorsement of the Freedom Caucus. That's how strong they were. My question is, did the Freedom Caucus have something on Paul Ryan, or was he paid off? Because he quickly became a puppet.
They had a lot of pages on him. And that's the reason he pulled himself out of politics.
What do you see?
I see a lot of pages flipping. He couldn't stand that. He pulled himself out of he said, I'm not going to stay in the Congress.
Yeah, I figured that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it's no secret Trump's favorite Freedom Caucus leaders are Jim Jordan, you know that.
Oh,
yeah. And Matt Gaetz, you know who that is?
Not that much.
He's that guy that had the drunk driving charge against him, and he was able to fight it because his dad was also in politics.
Oh, no, I don't really.
I'll show you a picture.
Yeah,
he's one of those guys. You might know them from their demands to hide the supporting evidence of the Mueller investigation from the Congress, of which they are a part of.
I would ask the chairman. My understanding is Mr. Mueller's going to be here next week. Why are we doing it? You're going to get to ask the guy who wrote the whole darn document. We're all going to get asking questions. Why don't you hold off on this contempt until at least the guy who wrote the thing spent 22 months and $35 million with a whole bunch of Democrat lawyers putting it together? Why don't you wait and ask him next week before we do this contempt resolution?
I'll answer, well, essentially because it would be useful to read the material before we have him in front of us.
First, my Democratic colleagues were in denial. When they saw that there was no collusion after saying for 22 months that the president was an agent of the Russian government, after saying for 22 months that there was actual evidence of collusion, they were in denial when they saw the conclusion that there wasn't. Then there was anger. It had to be the Attorney General's fault. Mueller didn't make a decision on obstruction. Somebody had to. The Attorney General did. So they got mad at him. And we had this whole kerfluffle of anger. Well, now we know the third step, bargaining. Well, Mr. Attorney General, you've given us 92% of the Mueller report, but we have to bargain for the remaining 8% because that's really where we think the action is.
That's one of the things that's also very curious right now is why these members of Congress are delivering their power. They're throwing their power away and saying, oh, we don't need to see this.
Yeah.
Which will have ramifications in the next president and the president after that and the president after that.
And Mitch McConnell yesterday read that speech.
Yeah.
Well, Madam President, the last stage of grief is acceptance. For the country's sake, I hope my Democratic friends could get there sometime soon. They told everyone there had been a conspiracy between Russia and the Trump campaign. Yet on this central question, the special counsel's finding is clear. Case closed. Case closed.
And Richard Meadow was saying that he just recently, his state, Kentucky, got $90 or $99 million from Olga Drapaska.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, one of the things I read that I didn't mention. Oh, yeah. So there's Russian ties right there. But one of the things I didn't mention is this Freedom Caucus is also responsible for funding other members of the Republican Party.
And that's the reason no one is brave enough to stand up to Trump.
My question is, going back to how these guys are, are demanding that the supporting evidence from the Mueller investigation doesn't see the light of day. My question is, does the supporting evidence in the Mueller report, which Trump has now claimed as executive privilege and won't let the Democrats see or anyone else, is there underlying evidence in the Mueller report that implicates members of the Freedom Caucus to having ties with Russia?
It's a nest. It's a nest of everything there. So whatever you put in the nest, you are building the nest, that's the nest.
It's everything.
Everything. Everyone is participating, kind of.
Okay, can we do a vision card reading on what will happen to the Freedom Caucus after Mueller testifies? Because you've already said he's testifying, and everything is going to start moving very quickly after he does.
I told you, I don't like when you are coming home to our place and you are so excited that you have such a good idea. It's scary for me. Okay, cut.
Okay.
It's always scary because his ideas are... So, financial worries, there will be worry. That's the message from the cards.
So once he testifies, the Freedom Caucus will start to worry.
They will start to worry. But 3 cards.
So what are these 3 cards for?
Oh, yeah, that's not 9 cards only for the future, for the caucus. They don't have a...
Actually, 3 cards could be what they're thinking right now.
Okay.
Okay.
3 cards.
1, 2, 3. And then 9 for the future.
Okay.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay. When I was doing and I had the vision, it looks like they have sifter and they are closing all the gaps so it will not leak.
Because they have members in all parts of the government right now.
Yeah, so they are making sure that they are changing tightening up all the rules so no one will put a lick on them. I don't know how they can do, but they can do it. That's their plans.
Closing the leaks right now.
Closing the ability to... Well,
I suspected it was Russia. I suspected it was Russian money behind it, but I didn't.
Oh, that they can be together.
A closed group within.
Because all of them.
The Republican, and that's when the Republican Party changed. All of a sudden, was like right when Trump was running for office, like pretty much right when he went in.
They are thinking to stay as a star for the empire. But they are afraid that someone from outside can start getting informations. So they are making the border high, and whoever will get out with some informations, like you and me, might be in trouble.
No, they don't care about us.
Hopefully not. He's always telling me, you're psychic. They can't really claim that it's... Oh boy, the future for them. Oh, that's a good one. The first 2 are really nice. After Miller will start talking. From the wonderful family with the rainbow over them, it will come to the dysfunctional. To me, it's always the one day better, one day light, one day black. I always call this kind of dysfunctional family. I know others are calling this differently. This is happy family. It was happy family. They know it might lose a lot of members. They will negotiate. They will try to negotiate between each other, between themselves, between the Republican Party. Oh my gosh, they want to hold hostage Mueller. They would like to hold his hand so he can speak. And Barr is telling him, you can talk about this, you can talk about that.
Because you said that Mueller is going to have to jump a hurdle. Like they're going to put a blockade in front of him and he's going to have to cross it. But once he crosses it...
Yeah. Then we will learn about the man, everything what was going. It will be such a chaos, the gambling, the everything. People are addicted to them. And about cheating. I'm always saying, don't think that the Miller might be the winner on the white horse. But they want to protect themselves as much as possible. They will try to negotiate. They will try to even scare Miller.
I didn't think that was possible, but I didn't think any of this was possible. That
he has wife, he has daughters, he has probably grandchildren. It's so easy to scare someone. Oh. Because if someone has a family, they might.
That's huge, though.
And they want him to stay quiet. They don't want him to say a word about Trump. No leakage.
Bottom line, if you think you're a Republican, you're not a Republican. The Republican Party was taken over by the Freedom Caucus. You're whatever the Freedom Caucus tells you you are.
You know, when you walked in here, I could have sworn you're already an expert courtesan.
Oh my gosh, yes, I'm red. I feel excited. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for being such a challenging child. I would like to invite you to the private reading with me. Please visit www.psychicvioletta.com. Click Book Online, choose the type of reading, choose the length, choose the date and the time, fill out your informations, click the Pay Now button with your credit card or debit card, and you're all done.